the situation I lived afterwards the floor for at least for the Caritas activities to Anton. The situation is terrible. Since the 7th of October, we are entering in a totally new situation here in Holy Land. It's not the first time there is a conflict in Holy Land, as you know. We have a lot of conflicts. Every 2-3 years there is something. But this time is something new in terms of military operations, the dimension of the military operations, and also the dimension of the consequence, the impact, emotional impact on the population, both Israelis and Palestinian, of course, and the casualties. We are already past the number of 10,000 casualties in Gaza, mostly civil, mostly 99% civilians, children, women, and so on. What I can say, first of all, is that we are seeing that this military operation is not going to finish soon. And so this situation, there are a lot of political and diplomatic activities, but we see, at least from the Israeli side, the clear determination to go on, even if we don't know to what purpose, because Hamas is not just a military organization. Hamas is an ideology, is much more than that, and Hamas is not only in Gaza. So with the bombs, you cannot destroy Hamas. On the contrary, now Hamas is very popular in the Arab population. At least the Muslim Arab population is very popular. So I think they are getting the opposite of what they want to achieve. Concerning and also our Christian population, first of all, as you know, in Gaza, we have about 1,000 Christians. Caritas is working not just with Christians, but I focus on Christians, and Anton can expand. Our Christians are gathered into the two churches, Orthodox Church, about 200, and the remaining in the Catholic compound, but a little more than 700. Among them also some wounded and children, disabled, with about 60 disabled people in the population. Till now, they are in the northern side of Gaza Strip, that according to the army, IDF, they should evacuate, but they are not evacuating, and they decided to remain because they don't know where to go. And many of them, especially the disabled, cannot leave because there are no conditions to leave. They don't know where to go. There are no, the southern part is packed, and there are no places where we can welcome all these people together. So they decided to remain there. We informed the army, the Israeli army, of the exact location of the Christian compounds. So the army is very well informed about the locations in order to avoid to strike these places, but because both the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, which are very close, by the way, they are in the so-called military target, because around and also below our compound there are the so-called the famous tunnels, and so they are military target. In these last days, after what happens also to the Orthodox compound, where 18 Christians have been killed, in these days the strikes are around the Catholic Church, 200-300 meters in a Zaytuni quarter, because they say this is a military target. But till now, physically they are all okay. Of course, they are all the tension is very high. They decided to sleep, almost many of them in the church, which is the stronger building, because they are concerned, they're afraid that even if they don't target, they don't strike directly the church, the compound of the church, anyway, the buildings, the compound are not very strong. So they're afraid that this can, the shake of the bombs close to the compound can, as happened to the Orthodox Church, that can affect also the school and the others where they are gathered. But this is in Gaza. Then, of course, the Caritas, I don't know, I have also been curious to see what Caritas can do in such a situation, because everything in Gaza is paralyzed. You should know that even if the Christian compounds are not targeted, 2/3 of the Christian houses don't exist anymore, because there are in complete quarters, quarters that are totally destroyed, leveled, sorry. There is nothing more. And our concern is, and now the infrastructure, sewage system, water system, electricity, and so on, everything is destroyed. We have the generator in our compound with some fuel we have fuel and food for 2 more weeks. But now, since the Gaza City, where we are, is surrounded by the military, the communication, also the transportation is impossible, is not sure. So we hope that this will finish before 2 weeks. So everything destroyed. Even my concern is it will be after the war. Even if you want to rent places for our families, there are no houses to rent because it's all destroyed. At least in the northern side, almost nothing remained. And now also all the activities are suspended. There are no schools, nothing. I suppose also the Caritas cannot do that much because everything is paralyzed. Maybe in the southern part you can do something. But the other concern, for my concern, is West Bank. No one is mentioning West Bank, but West Bank the situation is very problematic. First of all, the borders between West Bank and Israel are practically closed. All the work permits are suspended, except few church work permits, but all those who are working in Israel cannot go anymore to work in Israel. We are talking about dozens of thousands of people, not only Christians. And the perspective, according to what we hear from the government, from the authorities, is that most of them will not go back to work in Israel anymore. And this will create huge problem in West Bank. You should understand that now the hatred, resentment between the Arab population and the Jewish Israeli population is very deep. The mistrust is very deep. You see this everywhere. I mean, for instance, in the hospital, where there are Jewish and Arab nurses, Jews don't want to be followed by Arabs and vice versa anymore. I mean, this is in everyday life. And to rebuild the trust, it will take a long time. Now, what the Israeli authorities are saying, for instance, that they want to import 160,000 Indians for works, for labor, in order to avoid to have Palestinians work among them. I mean, so and the situation and the perspective are very, very concerning for the West Bank. And also, the West Bank now is divided. The Bethlehem area is closed, Ramallah area is closed, northern area is closed, and the communication is almost impossible. And we have attacks of the settlers almost every night, and nothing happens. No one is taking care of this. So the situation also in West Bank, from the political point of view, the tension is very high. Palestinian Authority is weak, if it exists. I don't know if they exist anymore. Anyway, it's very weak. And the army and the settlers are attacking the villages, especially in the villages around Ramallah, with no consequences at all. And the labor there, the work activities and so on, everything is suspended. I mean, the pilgrimages are totally cancelled for many months, at least a year, I think, we won't see pilgrims. And people cannot go to work in Israel anymore. So we foresee the main crisis will be in West Bank more than Gaza. Everyone now is focusing on Gaza. For us, Gaza is lost. The Christian Gaza is lost. We have to acknowledge this. And I'm sure that a lot of organizations will support Gaza. It won't be problematic. It will be very problematic to see who will be in Gaza, who will be the power in Gaza, and the organization all to rebuild will take time, but there will be a lot of attention to Gaza, while West Bank, for us, is the main concern, because the perspective, political perspective, and economical perspective are very fragile and so on. We already lost in the Bethlehem area in this month 18 families, Christian families. They left definitely. Just from Bethlehem area, Betzahur, Bejala, and Bethlehem. This is what I received, but probably there are many others. And when this war will be over, I'm afraid that it will be the common refrain. I'm wondering also how many Christian families in Gaza after the war decide to remain. I'm wondering in this situation. So this is very shortly what we are living now. In Galilee, there is no Caritas in Galilee in Israel, but for at least to understand where we are living, what is my concern as pastor now, the amount tension even within the Christian community. I give you an example. We as churches decided, a bishop decided to have a Sunday collection for Gaza. So we talked with the parish priests, Arab parish priests, don't misunderstand me, Arab parish priests. They said it is not the case because our communities in Galilee are divided on the matter. There are families, Arab Christian families who have their children in the army. Others are working for the Palestinian liberation movements and so on. So the Christian community is divided, very deeply divided, especially in this particular moment. So we are not able to organize a good Sunday collection for Gaza in order to avoid more tension in the community. You should know that we have about 1,000. It's very complicated. 1,000 Christians, Arab Christians, Palestinian Christians in Gaza are suffering by the Israeli strikes. But we have in Gaza about 300 Catholics working in the army on the other side. It's a very complicated situation also from the pastoral point of view with a lot of tensions. Definitely after this war, we have to sit down and see what to do and how to deal with this situation, because before being Palestinian, before being Israeli, or Arab Israeli or Filipino, whatever, we are first of all Christians. And we should have a Christian word on and Christian approach to these situations. And it's not that simple in this very intricate and complicated situation. I don't know if you have questions, otherwise I leave the floor to Anton, who can be more precise about the activities and what we are doing. Yes, I confirm. As I said, Gaza will be supported in a way or another. But the main concern will be the perspective for Gaza from the simply economical perspective, because it is very clear that most of the Palestinians who are working in Israel could not go to Israel anymore to work there. Israel wants to have a clear separation from West Bank. I don't know how they can separate, because the situation with the settlement is very complicated, but it is clear that they don't want any more Arabs among them. So, and this is a fact. And the consequences will be problematic, especially in West Bank. There are rockets from Gaza, now less because Hamas is targeted, so they are not that free as before, but also rockets from Hezbollah, from the South Lebanon and northern border of Israel. These rockets, they affect mainly the Jewish settlements, Jewish habitation, Ashkelon, Ashdod, or the villages in the north also. But of course, we cannot separate, especially in the also Tel Aviv, Jaffa, Tel Aviv. You cannot separate in these cities in the northern side and in Jaffa, Tel Aviv, the Arab house and Jewish house, because these rockets are not very precise. I know that, for instance, few houses in Jaffa, Arab houses, will be affected, and also some houses of Arab in the Arab villages in the north has been affected. But now in the northern side of Israel, the northern villages have been evacuated, totally evacuated, including the hospitals. But more than 90% of these rockets, they arrive to Jewish areas where there are Jewish families, and these are creating very strong. They have a very strong emotional effect on the population, and the anger, the hatred, and the desire of revenge is more and more stronger in the population. First of all, I think it's very important. Caritas is a wonderful network spread all over the world. So your support could be very important. As you said, advocacy is important. Many people don't know, especially in this conflict. Everyone has his own opinion. Very clear partial approach, or pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli and so on. And this affects also the complexity of the situation. So advocacy to let in the international organization, UN, UNICEF, and so on, even if they know, I think, to work there in order to let people understand the complexity, but also the tragic situation we're living in. But it's also important in the different countries, United States, UK, European Union, Asia, Latin America, and so on, to work also for the ceasefire, as we heard, and to stop this bloodshed, and to call for a political approach to the problem and not just military approach. So it's very important also to recall to the application of the international law in these situations, because there are laws, international laws, that they have a very clear rules, orientation on these situations. And to recall also to all the political leadership that we need here political project, political perspective. We are not seeing. We don't see. I mean, we are seeing the military activities, but what is after? What will remain? So it's very important. Not just to finish the war, but to give this population, especially the Palestinian population, a clear political perspective based on justice and dignity of the human beings. So it's very important to work on this and to advocate for this very clearly, and to let especially the Israeli authorities understand that it's not enough to fight Hamas. It's necessary that to give to this region political clear and stability based on justice and peace for both Palestinians and Israeli, of course, and not to let people understand that to sponsor or to adopt one narrative or another narrative. Because now everyone is non-narrative. We have to follow all this narrative, the Israeli narrative, or Palestinian narrative, whatever. Things are more complex. And so it's very important to work on this and to let people understand that this conflict didn't start on 7th October. The conflict started 75 years ago.